In this video, I'll be showing you how to make a form for concrete countertops. Right here you'll see this frame that we built. It's made out of just scrap wood that's hot glued together. It sets up the outside dimensions for the actual countertop on the cabinet. To make this frame, we glued it right on the top of the cabinets itself. That way, if the wall is not square to the cabinet or the wall is bowed, the countertop will match that shape instead of trying to be perfectly square. Here you just run a bead of hot glue and quickly put the side on. Press it down until it sets up and you can let it go. I then put a bead on the back side in the corner, just a little added support for that side piece. Believe it or not, the hot glue is plenty strong for what we're doing here. I did also shoot some brad nails in each corner to hold the two edge pieces together. Really isn't necessary, but just adds a little extra strength. And you just go around, make sure each side piece is butted up right to that template until you end up all the way around. You can see I'm using a little square there, just ensures that the edge of the form is nice and straight to the top. Once everything's glued together, just pull that template out. Here, this is a step that's not necessary. I just taped the top edge of that melamine edging. It's exposed wood, and when you're doing the concrete, it's a bit wet. It just keeps the water out of there. And then when you're all done putting the concrete in, you can peel it right off and you have a nice clean edge. Next step is wax the form. This is just a Carnuba Car Wax. Rub down the whole form with it, and be sure you do this before you silicone. And the reason is the excess silicone will peel right off. If you don't do this, it'll stay too stuck to the form and a lot harder to remove. Another reason to add this wax to the form is it acts as a release agent for the concrete. And here I am just rubbing off the excess wax. It really just needs to be a really thin layer. Of course, you don't want to have too much wax, it'll just end up on the concrete itself. Next step is the caulk into the corners. This creates a radius. I use a 3/8 inch wooden dowel to make my radius. You want to make sure you get enough caulking in there, kind of not too much, not too little. If you go too little, then you'll actually have little voids. It's actually better to have a little too much. At this point, I was kind of struggling with the caulking gun. I didn't poke good enough hole down in there. I'm going to squeeze it pretty hard. Just go around and put a nice bead in and then come back with the wooden dowel and scrape out to where you make a nice perfect radius holding the dowel at a 45-degree angle down in there. You want to put a lot of pressure on it and scrape it hard enough that you'll end up with 3 lines. Basically a radius section in the middle and then 2 strips that will follow that on the outside of the waste. So it's excess silicone that gets squeezed out. And you want to just leave that there. You want to avoid messing with the silicone while it's still wet. It'll just make a mess. And if you make mistakes, you can always add a little more caulking down in there and scrape it again. And it just takes practice. Tricky part is down in those corners, making the radius nice and uniform on all 3 directions. Basically just go all the way around the form and you're done. This creates the edge, so you could use even a 1/2 inch diameter dowel if you wanted a big radius. At this stage you just let it dry fully. I usually let it just sit for 12 hours or more. You can come back and pick at the excess and try to peel it, and if it comes off you can continue on, but I found it's best to make sure it's cured all the way. So once it's all the way cured, you just don't touch the radius area, but you just peel back the excess and you end up with the radius left over. Found this method makes a very nice, clean edge. And if you leave just the right amount, it comes off in one line like this, but it takes kind of some practice to get the perfect amount. Too little and you have tiny little spots you gotta dig out of there, and too much and it ends up almost stuck too well to the form. As you can see, waxing the form helps peel this off. If it's not waxed in that corner, then these pieces we're peeling out would stay pretty stuck. At this point, once we just wiped out the inside of the form, made sure there's no debris, and pretty much done, ready for concrete.
This concludes building a form for concrete counters. Good luck with your project. If you'd like to see how we did the concrete, check out our other videos where we built our concrete countertops in these forms.